right? The darker moths survived, the lighter moths didn't survive. That was a classic case. So all of a sudden the population evolves towards...
That's been proven to be falsified. That was not the case.
At all.
Moth experts, look, just search it up, just like you did with abduction. Not here to catch you out. It's something you can check up on upon. That was falsified.
I have read about this a number of times, and it has
I
not
know,
been falsified.
and it's there
Just
in
because
our...
you're holding the microphone doesn't mean you're right in everything.
No, but
You're
I'm
wrong about
pointing
this.
the microphone at you to give your full view. I'm not moving the microphone away from you when you've made a partial point. You've made the point that in the Industrial Revolution, the black and the white moths, that was an example of evolution taking place. No, that's an example of selection taking place.
Natural selection is part of evolution.
Well, not necessarily, because natural selection by
It's a
mutation.
fundamental part of evolution. Evolution depends
Okay,
upon
sorry,
natural
I
selection.
misspoke. That's not
Yes, you
natural.
did.
Yeah, that's not natural selection. You misspoke as well because that's adaptation, not natural selection.
Nothing adapted. What happened was there was a natural selection process by which the darker moths didn't survive, the lighter moths didn't, because
So they had a
predators
gene-
could not see the darker moths on the trees.
Right. So because they had another bit of information inside their genome, so if they were black, well actually they were white, yeah? And then because of the black nature of the trees, then those of them that exerted that the blackness, they were able to survive.
They didn't exert blackness, they were black, and they were able to survive.
Well, okay, no problem.
Okay.
So
But that's an
I've
example.
told you.
There's many examples
No.
of
But let's stick with that
natural
example.
selection.
Let's stick with the example.
Well, that's an example you claim
That
is false.
example, I'm telling you that again. I'll appeal to authority, and you can check up this authority. Cambridge scholars that are experts in moths have said that's not the behavior of moths. They don't sit on trees like that. That
Oh,
was
really?
placed. Yes, that was
I've
placed
never
there.
heard this argument.
Yeah. Check it.
It's
It's
making this up, but I will check it out.
no. I'll give you a reference for the book. I don't have the primary source, but it's mentioned in God's Undertaker by Professor John Lennox, Professor of Mathematics in the University of Oxford. Check it out.
And he's a hardcore Christian. I respect
He is.
him. He's a
I'm
brilliant
not
man.
a hardcore Christian, but again, he gave that reference, and I checked up that reference. I found it to be true.
I'll check it as well.
Yeah, and that's present
That's
in
not
a
the
lot of
only
textbooks.
evidence of natural selection.
No, but that's the first evidence you gave, and that's false. It's wrong.
That's not wrong.
That's an example
You
of
claim it's
adaptation.
wrong.
That's not evolution.
You just said it's wrong. For all your followers on YouTube, I'm telling you, I don't believe it's wrong. I will look up the references.
Is that
and exist.
example of evolution by natural selection?
Yes.
Okay, where did the natural selection? How did that take
By
place?
the fact that just for chance, some moths had light-colored skin, light-colored wings. Some had dark-colored wings. This was an evolution from previous moths, which probably were different colours entirely. But that's an example of where
That's an example of adaptation.
predators.
That's not evolution.
So what do you mean adaptation is not evolution?
Evolution is something that takes natural selection and the tree of life. Darwinian evolution is something that has to incorporate the tree. Otherwise, we're talking about Lamarckian evolution. There's all sorts of
I
evolution.
know, they're all wrong.
Well, according to you, they're wrong. According to them, they're not wrong. So,
Lamarckian evolution is not respected at all. Nobody teaches Lamarckian evolution.
no problem. Well, people would argue that about Darwinism and
Darwinism
neo-Darwinism
is
as well.
taught- Darwinism is the fundamental part of all of modern biology. It's taught at every university, in every university course about evolution.
Does it make it true?
Universities are brilliant, sir. How much money do they take from the Rockefeller?
They used to tell us Pluto was a planet. It was in every university, it was in every school, it was in every book. Now they're saying it wasn't a planet actually. It's a dwarf planet.
They've changed the
They
definition.
changed. Well, there you go then. That's what I'm saying. Just because it's in university, it doesn't mean it's true. Just because it's taught in university.
I agree. The fact that it's taught in every university in the world as the fundamental core of biology is evolution and natural selection.
It's because what they say is, typically speaking, the inference or the best explanation that we have at this moment in time is neo-Darwinism. Yeah. However, no one says that this is the final step of evolution. This informs everything that we have.
Is that not more accepted than the belief that God somehow created man in some paradise?
Not necessarily, because evolution, Big Bang, all of these are mechanisms. God is a creator of mechanisms.
Processes, they're not...
No, they are mechanisms.
Fine.
Do you know?
What?
How do you know?
How do you know? You don't know. You don't know
I
anything.
know.
Oh, this you do know.
No, I don't know that.
But your friend just admitted it could be classed as a mechanism. It's a mechanism, right?
What? God? God?
What I just said. That evolution, Big Bang,
No, but you
all
say
of these are
Evolution is a
mechanisms.
process. You've got to call a
You
process.
say that God is a creator of the.
So I'm not
the
wrong when I
universe.
say mechanisms, right?
I'm not disputing, but you could say it's a
Okay,
You
you're
say
saying
God,
I'm wrong.
You say God is the creator of universe, right?
I'm saying God is a creator of mechanisms.
Well,
in this
actually, I
regard.
like
Who created God? Who
That
created the
doesn't make any
creator?
sense.
Who created the creator?
Okay, so